Hi, love.
Hi, Natalia. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm so excited to be talking with you today.
Likewise. How you been?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How are you doing? How's your puppy?
Oh, she's so much better, thank God. We had a pretty big it was a pretty big scare, but we're good now. I mean, we're not out of the water yet, and we won't be. She's 15 years old. She's old, but at least she's not in the state that she was for like a week or 5 days. It was pretty gnarly. So
I'm so
thank
glad
you for
you're
asking,
okay.
though. Thank you for
I had a
asking,
scare
though.
with my dog last year too, and he's only 2 years old, but turns out that you cannot feed a grape to a dog. So we didn't know
Right?
that at the time, so it was a hard
Oh,
week with him in the hospital, but he's fine now.
oh, good, good. Yeah, mine's been suffering from cancer for a while, and she comes in and out of it. Like sometimes she'll be great for months, and we have no sort of reactions to to whatever she's sick of. But that day she fainted. She had a full on sort of epileptic uh, shock, and I've never seen her have something like that. And then she went into full sort of almost comas. I mean, the doctors are in shock that she's out of it. They thought they sent us the euthanizing doctor and everything, saying, you should really look into putting her to sleep because it looks like it's time. And then I think she must have heard us, because the next day she was like, no, and woke up and she was like, fuck that shit. And she was wagging her tail and all happy. And I think it's because she might have heard us say that we were going to put her to sleep.
Oh, well, I'm so glad she's doing okay.
Yes, let me just close the door, love, so that we
Okay.
don't hear all the noise in the house. All right, here we go. So where you at?
I'm here in my bedroom in Minnesota, in Bloomington.
Okay, nice.
And
And I see you have
I'm
a
so
bunch of,
excited to be talking about all about Agents of Shield. I've been pretty much a big fan since the beginning, and
I know you
I'm
are.
very sad the show ended, but I still have a very strong love for it.
Oh, yeah, of course. And it never ends, like it ends physically, but what you felt and what it gave you, and clearly the feelings you still have, those are perpetual. It's sort of like death, right? During quarantine, because there's so much death around us, I've been really um sort of focused on that subject and studying and trying to find um just your own philosophy on it. And the more I think about it, anything that dies physically, it's just that, right? It's a physical death. It's just that physically, tangibly, we don't have it there, but all the stuff we went through and all that we experienced, that's really the aliveness of something. That's the soul of something. So the soul of AOS is still very much alive, and it's because of you guys.
I'm glad I could be a fan, and I don't like it when a show ends so like that. But even if they announce the cancellation, I have time to prepare for it. But I'm still
Yeah.
not ready for it to end.
Oh, I know, Mama. Well, some other stuff will come along.
I hope so. There's rumors of Chloe coming back as Daisy for the next year
No,
show, so I'm hoping that's
yeah,
true.
yeah. I mean, you never know. I mean, and if it's neither of us, any of us, then some other show with new people will come up, and you'll fall in love with it again, and
Yeah,
you'll have
of
the
course.
the beautiful journey. Yeah.
And I look forward to all your future projects.
Oh, thank you, Mama. I hope there's future projects. When
Yes.
is this going to start, right? Jeez.
So I have a lot of Agents of Shield questions starting back from when you joined the show.
Yes.
How did you end up getting the role of Yo-Yo?
Um, like like I've gotten most of the other roles in my life, just auditioned for it. I was submitted for it by my representation. Um, and you go in and you do the audition. Usually your first audition is just with the associate casting director, who was Hannah Cooper at that time, for Sarah Finn. And then maybe a couple of weeks later, or a week later, I got a call back for it, and I went in and I did the call back at Culver Studios where we used to shoot
Mhm.
in front of Mo and Jed and Jeff and all the people we now know who back then I had no idea who they were. I mean, I didn't know if Mo was an assistant or a executive producer. I really had no idea who any of these people were, but there was a room of like 15 people. And I did the callback for all of them, and a couple of days later, a week later, I heard I had gotten the part. So
That's fantastic. What was it about your take on the character that made the producer and the crew like you so much?
I honestly don't know. I never asked them that. That's kind of bizarre. I wish I would have asked Mo or Jed or them what was it. I do remember that Mo told my manager, one of my reps, that my voice really impacted them. That when she first heard my voice, she was like, "Oh my God. Oh, I think that's Yo-Yo. I think she's perfect." So I remember hearing that my voice helped sort of put me apart from others and have them pay attention to me. But hopefully my acting, because that's really the craft that I'm bringing to the table. But yeah, I don't know specifics. What was it that I'm guessing my voice? Since it's been sort of a double-edged sword for me. It can be sometimes so helpful and sometimes too much, and people don't identify a woman with a voice like mine.
Okay.
So for Yo-Yo it worked, and I think it really gave them the strength maybe that they were looking for in Yo-Yo.
That was really amazing to hear. I never thought of it that way. That your voice can be a major part of that. Of that.
Yeah, it's always been, and I've spoken about it with Coco when I did the voice for Frida. um it's always been a double-edged sword for me since I was little. It's something that either people really love because it's unique, or it's something that really sort of confuses people and they feel sort of just don't know how to read it. I'm sure, I talk to a lot of fans about stuff like that, things that we have that are very unique to ourselves that sometimes growing up can seem like a weakness because people don't understand it and we are rejected for it. And as we grow into our own skin and we start to accept ourselves even more, and that becomes sort of your strength because it becomes your signature. So it's always had that for me, where it took me a while to own my voice and to feel okay with it and not sort of as if it was something that I would get rejected for, but something that made me unique. So yeah.
I'm the same way with my own voice, mostly because I'm hard of hearing. So I knew that I had quite of a different tone of a voice, but it's the only one I have. So I'm pretty proud that to have that as a voice, and that's what makes me unique. Not just my autism as well, but something that comes from my hard of hearingness uh, can come from me.
Of course, and it's beautiful. It's you. Imagine if we all sounded the same, like truly, if we all looked and sounded the same, it would be like staring at each other all the time. There wouldn't be any sort of curiosity and adventure and finding why someone is that way or another.
Yeah.
That's the human experience, the fact that we're so unique and at the same time so alike.
Exactly. And with my autism, I had a really tough childhood growing up. So I will always connect with superheroes and like the ones from Marvel and DC, lots of movies. And now today, I view my disabilities. I don't call them as a disability, but I call them more like my superpower.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, Belle. Good for you,
Yeah.
mama.
And you and the cast have been a huge part of that journey with me growing up from junior high to high school when the show came on. And you guys have just pretty much been there for me every single week with a new episode and to teach me that it's okay to be me.
And I love that. I'm so grateful we can do that for you. But I always tell people that we really I mean, I'm grateful I can represent that to you, but really it's you. You did that for yourself. You were there for yourself every time an episode aired, and you had the confidence and the love for yourself to find yourself in those characters that are superheroes and warriors of love and light and everything that's good in this earth. Because we don't do a checklist of, oh, I want to represent Belle and this girl and that boy. Like, you are the one that made those connections. We get to do this wonderful work and what we love to do and put it out there. But really, it's not us that save you. It's you through our reflection that find yourself. So the applause goes to you for having the self love and acceptance to find yourself in that and to see yourself reflected in those characters.
Thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you.
Oh, mama. Well, likewise from me too.
Yeah, I know I talked to Wendy Lynn, in an interview one time, and she practically said something similar when we were communicating. And I hear that coming from her and then Jason O'Mara and everyone else involved. I have a lot of connections, but to hear that they're on my side just brightens my day every single day.
Oh, I'm so glad, mama.
Okay. And what do you remember from your first day on the set?
My first days on set, I always try. People must think, and they tell me that their first impression is some always sort of that I'm quiet and reserved, and I'm really not. But I've always been like that since I was little. People might not think that, but I was shy. I was reserved. My husband always laughs that when he met me in college, I was the girl in the corner, sort of observing the party. And that's how I am. My first days on set, I like to sort of sit back and sort of observe their world because it was a world that everyone had already built, and so I remember crew member smiles. I remember Kyle Jewell, who was a camera operator back then. He just gave me the biggest smile, and I remember feeling very welcomed by him. I remember Hannah Betts, who was my stunt double. She was so wonderful, and she looked so much like me, and we were just chatting about what she does and whatnot. My first day on set, I worked with the whole cast was there, but I didn't get to like really work with them. The only one I got to work more with was Henry. He was pretty reserved and pretty not the Henry that I got to know later, but you see, we all have like our ways of presenting ourselves the first time. So I remember everyone sort of from orbit, right? Me watching them from being an outsider, not being a series regular yet, so you don't know if you're going to be taken away or not. So I just remember watching everything from sort of an above perspective, just trying to read this world that I was coming into. And the camera crew, who's always the crew that's closest to the actors, just being the most wonderful of guys and so welcoming and warm with me.
And you mentioned kind of being the outsider and being shy, and I love that I can connect with you on that because I'm totally like an outsider and completely shy. I don't do well in social communities, which is kind of why I don't have any friends now. But I love them. I had a couple issues after I got out of high school, and people who I thought were my friends were not my friends at all.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mama.
Thank you.
But you're so fantastic. Look at what a great conversationalist you are. You just got to find people that love to do what you love to do. That's really what friendships are, right? That we can share the things we love.
Of course. And I love being able to do this and talk to people on social media and doing all these interviews I have done. And it just brightens my day, and it kind of leads me to a career I kind of want to have. So the more I practice, the more I can prepare.
Yeah.
What work for Marvel someday? So that's kind of my
do?
goal. Yeah.
Oh, nice. What do you want? What would you like to do?
I'm more of a storyteller. I like to create characters and tell story I'm also an artist, so I kind of like to learn how to be an animator.
Nice.
Even if
That's
Marvel
amazing.
doesn't work out, Disney is one of my other the companies
Yeah.
I work for too.
Yeah, there's so many. You can start your own. You can
Yeah,
start your own Marvel.
yeah. One of the characters I want to create is I would like to see more representation for characters with disabilities. But there's not a lot of that being represented in the entertainment industry. So I'd like to be able to represent autism if I can.
That's beautiful. I think a lot sometimes we're afraid to represent people. It happens even with like race and all political identities, but we're afraid to represent it because we ourselves don't live through it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how am I going to speak on behalf of an autistic human being if I myself don't go through it, right?
Yeah.
So it's so important for people that have lived through whatever those traits are, um, to put them out there so we really know about them from a genuine voice and source.
Yeah. And I actually really wanted to work on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if it lasted for a long time. But sadly, that's not going to happen. But
Oh,
if
well, you never know. You could keep the fandom alive.
yeah, I'm one of the fans who definitely love to keep the show alive through social media pretty much every day.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have a lot of friends, and I actually been written to the show a bunch of times. I sent a lot of fan mail to express my love for the show. Gotten quite a few responses back, and I still hope to connect with everyone else through the mail sometime.
Yeah,
I emailed you through your rep, so that's how I was able to connect with you.
good for you. I'm glad you did so.
You too. I love. I've been doing that for a long time, sending mail to people and sending little photos for someone to sign. And I just got
Yeah.
lucky with a couple of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because I'd never had luck with Marvel people before. And they get responses back from like Clark and Jeff. It's just mind blowing.
Oh, I'm glad,
My
Mama.
day. And I hope to write to you sometime soon and find if I find an address for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And were you a Marvel fan before you got the role?
I was not. Of course I admired it and I thought it was incredible, but as I've told the story, the real fan, and it was fan was my grandfather, who was an actor. I didn't get to meet him so much because he had Alzheimer's. By the time I was 6 or 7, he already was pretty sick, but he was an actor, and I know I get my passion for storytelling and theater in the film world from him. But it was very special for me to find out when I got yo-yo, and I told my dad, and I told him it was a superhero from the Marvel universe. He was like, I can't believe this. You just keep getting stuff that is so connected to your grandfather. And my grandfather was the one that was a big fan. He used to collect Marvel comic books back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And I don't think 50s, probably more 60s and 70s. And he would get in trouble with my grandma and my dad and his sisters because he was an actor, and back then being an actor in Mexico didn't make you that much money. So they were like, you're spending all your money on freaking comic books. And I wish they would have kept them. Imagine if I would have had my grandfather's comic books with me. But yeah, I wasn't a fan. I became one after Agents of Shield.
That's fantastic. Um,
Yeah.
Yo-Yo is one of the few main Shield characters that come directly from the comics. Did you look at the source material for inspiration?
I did. I got the role on, they told me I had gotten the role on like a Wednesday, and the next day I had the table read. And I found out during the table read that it was Yo-Yo and not the part that they had told me I had auditioned for, because it was all very secretive. And then Friday I had to shoot. So I had to shoot so fast that I wasn't able to look at the source material before my first few scenes. But then that whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I ran to every comic book store I could find in the LA area. I looked on Amazon and I just bought a bunch of source material for Yo-Yo. And my husband actually gifted me, and I have it hung in a frame. He put my first the first script of Yo-Yo bouncing back, my first episode next to Yo-Yo's first appearance in the comic book. So the actual first comic book that she's in, and I have it in a frame. So yeah, we went into the source material for sure. Now the thing is, and that's beautiful too. You probably know, you being a fan. Daisy, Yo-Yo, all even in the Marvel movies, they're not identical to the comic book. You know, they get sort of reinvented, which is lovely. Yo-Yo's really Puerto Rican. She was Colombian in the show. They changed certain things. So I took what inspired me from the comic books, and I used that, and the other stuff came from the writers of AOS or from me. So it was a Yo-Yo put together by all of us.
That's fantastic. What would you say is the most exciting part of being in the Marvel universe?
Oh, that it's just such a, when we, at least for me, when I chose to be an actor or a performer, because I was a dancer for many years before, um, for me, it was always about connecting, what you were saying before, knowing that you've moved someone, and that person has moved you, just as you can move me right now with your stories, and we can move each other, we can connect, we can find the reflection in each other. And Marvel has a lot of that. Marvel, not just the comic books, but the movies and the community that it's built. There's a lot of what I hope the world has more of, which is this connective tissue, where we can find our uniqueness and within our interconnectedness. So, as you said, through the Marvel universe and these superheroes, I can find the beauty in my uniqueness as well, in my voice, and in the things that make me very different from everyone, but also find my interconnectedness with the rest of the world, and how much we need each other. And for me, that's the most exciting part. There's so many great artists in the Marvel universe, and most of them are such good humans. So yeah, just being part of a community that I think is very moving and connective.
Marvel is just a really big universe, and
Mhm.
to be able to have every one of these characters that you can relate to on a personal basis, I think it's really important to the fans. Like, I can find myself related to Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner in the first Avengers movie, because when I look at him, I'm like, oh, he's kind of like me a little bit. Not just as the Hulk, but his personality, the way that Mark was
You see,
acting.
I feel the same way. You and I relate to Hulk. I love that too. I relate to Hulk much more than anyone else.
Well, you get angry. I'm not that angry.
Oh no, yeah, we don't destroy stuff, but we might destroy things internally, right? We might get just as angrily into each other, instead of he does it externally. But it's sort of a metaphor for how much you can destroy when you get in that place.
And with Guardians of the Galaxy, I kind of find myself like Mantis and Drax the same way as well. Kind of like showing that um, representation a little bit, but even though James Gunn didn't confirm that's what he was going for, a lot of fans can connect with those characters because of it.
Yeah,
And
I love that.
me too, me too. I know after the movie came out, there was an article that someone posted about his little brother being able to connect with the character because he doesn't take things literally. And I take pretty much everything literally. Sometimes I can't help it. But just to have these characters that on the screen, you would think you're seeing yourself.
Yeah, of course. I love that love.
Me too. Me too. It's just Marvel's just pretty much been there since I was 5 years old. So to me, it's not only the characters I can relate to, but it's everything that kind of like saved my life in a way through depression and anxiety. So that's what all the movies and the comics and TV shows have pretty much taught me my whole life. And I'm really thankful to have all that.
Oh, that's beautiful. And now you're gonna give it back through your storytelling.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope so. I still kind of need to go to school to do all that, but I'm a little behind. But I was gonna try to do something this year, but then COVID kind of screwed everything up there.
No, and don't worry, you don't need that much school. You just need to go for it.
I'm
Nothing, no
working on
one,
that.
yeah, no one's gonna teach you what you already know, and you seem to be very passionate about this. So
Thank you.
just use that passion and that desire. Give what you would want to see, and that's as much schooling as you'll need.
Thank
You've
you
done
so
it all on your own. Look,
much. Thank
yeah, of
you.
course, Mama.
Yeah, I did all this on my own. I signed up for IMDb Pro, and I got most of the Asian information that I can get. So I do my own research to find myself resourceful to try to get information.
That's amazing. You see, no schooling needed there.
I do like to teach myself some things, but it's
Of
more like
course.
filmmaking and animation projects that I need to learn how to do. But everything else, I seem to be doing well on my own.
Oh, I love that. Good for you, Belle.
And speaking of which, I have something that I wanted to show you that I made for you. I don't know if you got to see it on Twitter, but I did the sketch of you.
Oh, wow. I haven't been on social media. That's great. That's from that picture, that black and white, huh?
Yeah,
Oh, I
I
love it.
love doing
Thank
black and
you.
white portraits.
You did it?
Yeah, on my iPad.
Oh, look at that. Very good, Belle.
Thank you. Maybe I can send you a copy if you want.
Yeah, when we're done, I'll send you a PO box so you can send me all of that stuff.
That's fantastic. I look forward to it.
For sure.
I have a lot more questions to go because I
Go for it.
and I have like 100 questions, but don't worry, I limited it down to 20.
Don't worry. We have time. Go
um,
for it, love.
what do you love most about playing yo-yo?
Oh, I loved so many things about her. I think something that I loved about Yo-Yo that I've told this, not this story, but I've said before how TV is so different from doing film or theater, which I had done before, because with, let's say, theater, you get to practice the play, you get a couple of months to sort of build your character, to know their infrastructure very well, their story, their history, their mannerisms and whatnot. You just built this person. But with TV, you don't have time for that. You get the role and you start the next day, and you didn't even know what role you were playing. So you sort of build it as you go. So I didn't really know when I started playing Yo-Yo what I wanted her to be yet, or what she was going to turn out to be. And what I loved as time went by was her lack of victimhood. Yo-Yo is not a victim. She understands that we're all victims of our experiences, meaning whatever happens to us from the outside world, whatever, whether it be good or bad, negative or positive, hurtful or lovable, whatever experience comes through their exterior to us, we are victims of, per se, her getting her arms cut. She's a victim of that experience, but what she refuses to be a victim of is her perspective. So yes, I got my arms chopped off, and that was what had to happen to me. And now I have this sort of handicap and whatnot, but I refuse to be a victim of it. I refuse to every day wake up and be an Ophelia of woe is me, I don't have this, and sort of live in this puddle of self-pity and lack of self-love, and of defining yourself as a victim. She has none of that. She was always a survivor of her circumstances, and a victim of the experience, because we're, for example, we're all victims of the pandemic, right? That's a reality. We're all living through it. But a victim of our perspective is something we get to choose to be. Yes, pandemic is hard. It's doing all of these things to us, but am I going to be a victim of my perspective of it? Am I constantly going to wake up every day and be, oh my God, look at him.
I know he wants to get out. Hold on.
I love it. Hilarious. He literally was trying to open the door.
Yeah. I mean, he practically destroyed my door by trying to get out on his own. So
Oh,
it's like
wow.
me again, but he's just when he has enough of me, he wants to go.
Yeah, they're independent. That's how mine is too. No matter how sick she is, she's still doing her own thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's basically it. What I loved about Yo-Yo is, oh, it's so easy in superheroes. I mean, most of them, they get bitten by a spider. It's like, oh, well, what am I gonna do with this? There's nets coming out of my arms and I can swing and they're always victims, right? Oh, this happened to me. It's like, what? If I got a superhero, I could swing from building to building, I would be like, yeah. But it's interesting that that's our perspective as humans, that when something happens to us, we sort of fall into our protagonism of things, and even when good things happen to us, we're sort of in this world of, oh, but I'm the only one going through this. And Yo-Yo was always the opposite.
Yeah.
There was nothing egotistical about her powers, and the ego is all about becoming a victim. So I loved that about her, and that's probably her biggest lesson for me too.
What do you say that throughout this whole time that you were on the show, what do you think that Yo-Yo has taught you?
That the most, that as she started to realize, on her first episode, she's like, these powers come from a higher source, and it's not about me, about how powerful I am or how cool I am with these superpowers. It's about the fact that clearly I was gifted this, and I need to use it not for myself and my own protagonism, but to help others. Which is what I love is that it's very relatable to what you were saying, with being a person with autism or a very unique trait, that instead of, because it's not just you guys, who either, people that have autism or a handicap, or me with my really low voice as a little girl, just speaking this way made people go, I mean, the first thing I ever heard when I started acting was, oh my God, her voice is so ugly. And you can either oh, thank you, mama. But you can either victimize yourself and go, oh my, oh, and I'll never make it because my voice, or you can go, no, this is me, and this is a unique trait of mine, and I will not be a victim to other people's opinions, and I won't make them my own. And that's what I love about Yo-Yo. She didn't allow the exterior world to define her. She didn't allow her ego to come in and tell her who she was. Um, it was all about being, a human, of a being of light, and acceptance and belonging and love, and she was very grounded in that. So she was a good teacher that way.
And I feel the same way. I used to think that my disabilities would put me down, like help hold me back from everything that I wanted to do as a kid growing up. But I wasn't gonna let it get me now that I'm older.
Yeah. And as society, we also victimize people. It's not fair that someone, just because they're different from us, which we all are, that the difference makes them, oh, poor things. It's like, what? No, the difference should be like, wow, you've got something that no one else has, or that
Yeah.
very few people have. And instead, as society, we victimize people, and that then sends a message to them that they should do that to themselves. And I feel like it's incorrect. And Yo-Yo went through all these hurdles. First her superpowers, that are not knowing English and coming into this world, her arms, her losing of powers, her fears coming back together. Um, just every time she fought against it, she fought against becoming a victim to them. So that
That was
was
one
that
of the
was a
first
big.
things I've seen about that happened to the character with Dove Cameron cutting your arms off, and then the trike making you lose your powers temporarily. And I just felt so bad that you, Yo-Yo, had to go through that.
No, thank you, mama. It was fun to go through it
I thought
without
it was
going
a
through it.
horror movie when I saw your arms being gone.
Oh, right.
I did
I
not
mean,
see that happening at all.
neither did I. When I finally read the episode, I was like, oh no, it's
It
happening.
happened so fast. Like I didn't even know what had happened. It was like watching the beginning of the episode one of The Boys on Amazon, where you just suddenly see one character disappear and then your arms being the same way. And I'm
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh, pretty
I
intense,
know it was pretty intense for sure.
pretty crazy. But at least I know the character is okay now.
Yeah, it's good.
You have had a huge impact on girls everywhere. How exciting is it to be an inspiration to all girls and women, especially girls in the Latina community?
I mean, it's I'm um, I'm very grateful to be of any resemblance to anyone, Latino or not. I'm trying to use labels as little as I can nowadays because it's important to mention them, but it's also very important to let go of them because at the core of it all, we're just all souls, no matter what gender, no matter what inclination and sexuality we have, or what color or race. We're just souls, you know. At the core of it, we're all made of the same thing. So I mean, to the Latin community or to women or little girls, it's wonderful. But there's also a little boy out there that might identify with Yo-Yo, you know, a Caucasian little boy. And I'm just as proud to, or blessed to be able to give him some sort of reflection of himself or herself, whoever it may be. That's my stuff ringing. Um, I'm just happy to be able to be a mirror to our potential and to be a storyteller, you know, to be able to tell someone a story about someone else's life, and maybe through it they find strength or they find inspiration, or they um they get to know about themselves a little deeper. It's no matter where people come from or who they are, I'm just happy to get to do what I love, and through doing what I love, which makes me happy and brings joy to my life, um, inspire people, move people. So
And you
I'm
have
just grateful for that.
been, you, Chloe, Ming, and Liz, everyone on the show have been a huge inspiration to me, not just the guys, but the women's as well. And it makes me feel like I can accomplish anything based on my sex.
You can. You can
Um,
accomplish anything.
Thank you. It's really great to have that. 'Cause I love having people in the industry that I can look up to and think of as a teacher in some way.
Yeah. We all are teachers to each other. You teach me too. You're teaching me a bunch of stuff through this conversation.
Oh, I'm glad I could teach you so many things.
Of course.
I
On a day, we can learn from each other on a daily basis, right? So,
yes, of course. And I learn every single day as much as I teach people what I know. I still learn. Like the teacher is still the learner.
of course. Yeah. Yeah.
What was your favorite episode to film?
I was just thinking that I was reading over your questions and I was like, I never have. I hope my husband answers that phone call. We still have a landline, which most people think is hilarious.
So do we.
Right?
Yeah.
It's important to stay connected to the vintage side of all of us of technology. My favorite episode. You know what? I can't really pinpoint a favorite episode, but I can tell you something. I My favorite period shooting was the end of season 5. The end of season 5, when Yo-Yo meets Elena, her other the seer, you know, the Elena that they have in the future locked up, and she's got a scene with herself, and then she tries to convince the gang, the team that Coulson needs to go because it's one person against one life for all of humanity. all that end of that season I just loved because Yo-Yo was in such a controversial position, and she was so grounded, and again her arms had been chopped. She had just met her future self. Mac things her that moment where Mac thinks that when Casillas cuts her throat that's his Yo-Yo and doesn't realize that that's the Yo-Yo of the future. And all of a sudden I show up and he's like, and he fights Casillas and kills him, and I show up and he realizes I'm still alive. And him, Simmons and I are running to the ship, and you just see us running in slow-mo. All that end of the fifth season was my favorite. I love that we got to continue and did season 6 and 7, but I really think that the ending of season 5 was the best ending for the show.
I believe the same thing. As much as I don't like seeing Coulson die over and over again,
Of course.
I thought the ending was definitely an interesting twist with him going to Tahiti and then seeing you in their future self. It was just quite a bit of a surprise at like towards the beginning, middle, end of every season. There's always one surprise that mind blows you.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
I have to say, my favorite season is actually season 4 because of Ghostwriter mostly, and then seeing Jeffrey Mays and everyone. That one just excites me the most every time I see it. But then there's other episodes that you enjoy watching over and over again.
Yeah, I think 4 and 5 are my favorite seasons for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. There's so much about season 4 that makes me think it's the best one. No offense to the other seasons and episodes, but there's so much that season told that
I agree.
Going on to the end into season 5 at the end of season 4, it was just surprising knowing that at the end of season 4 the characters are going to go into space, and then they're going to go into
and also we had John Hannah, and I mean, you're right, season 4 had so much. I mean, John Hannah is the good bad doctor with Ada, and Mallory did such a terrific job as our
I love John Hannah.
Me too.
I watched Mummy pretty much every single time growing up, and that was like one of my favorite movies.
And, I know. I had
on the show. Was like, oh my gosh, he's on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right? I had a huge crush on him when I was really young. So when he walked in and did the table read, I was like, it's John Hannah. And he's such a fantastic person. And then Ian gets to play his evil part, and Ian is such a superb actor. Doesn't Ian die in season 4? Fitz dies in season 4, right?
Point, and then there was
and Jason Amara. And Jason Amar also dies in season 4, right?
Jason did die. While I was surprised to see his character killed off so soon, I was hoping to see more of Jason.
Me too. But you're right. Season 4 so much. It happens. So many things happen. And Ian's death, Fitz's death in season 4 is brilliant. I mean, him and Henry. No, you're right. Season 4 is a terrific season. I think it's one of the best for sure. Yeah.
I do have the first 2 seasons on DVD. I still need to collect all the other seasons, but I know everything's on Netflix, but I love to go revisit each season or episode over and over.
Yeah.
For I don't know who it was I was talking to. I was talking to one of the guest stars of one of the seasons on another interview, and I did some research on the episodes he was on. Kerr Smith. He played, but I know I went back to one of the seasons. I think it was 4. I think it was 4. And I got to talk to him about his time on the show.
Oh, nice.
What do you love most about Yo-Yo's relationship with Mac and the team?
With Mac, I love that it was built out of friendship, out of a lot of teasing and being flirty, and they became really good friends. And I think that was part of why Henry and I became, Henry is a dear human being, not just because he was Mac, but Mac and Yo-Yo were just such a beautiful representation of, we would always say, of the world, of what we want to see more in the world. people that come from completely different backgrounds, um, completely different worlds, culture, language, ideologies, and yet all of that was left aside. Um, it's again the same thing that I answered about Yo-Yo. It's egoless. Their relationship was so egoless. It was all about what connects us and not what makes us different. So they left all, you know, Henry's character Mac is very religious and or sort of religious, but in his own way. And so was Yo-Yo at the beginning with Catholicism. But all those things were left to the side. All those exterior definitions of self were put aside whenever they were together, and it was about again who we are as a whole, where we come from. Our souls are the same. It was very pure. I love that about Mac and Yo-Yo's relationship. There was a purity to it, a matureness to it that I feel other relationships didn't have, and the few relationships in the world have. Um, oh my, who
What?
did that just happen? Oh, that was my father calling me on FaceTime and he came in. Let me just, oh, uh, and it literally just, my ears went, because it was so loud.
No, I can't handle that. That's why I turn off all the notifications.
Oh, I have these
I have
things on that I
Bluetooth
just
hearing-
bought. Oh,
I got Bluetooth hearing aids, and to have those calls come in so unexpectedly, like startles me. So,
that's what just happened. I was so startled.
I keep having to turn
Uh,
it off so many times because it drives me insane. While I
I
love
know,
listening to music without headphones, I can't handle phone calls coming in.
right? Oh, yeah. So that's my favorite part of Yo-Yo and Mac. I think just the purity of their relationship. That all the shit that defines us from the exterior. What race are you? What color? What religion? What sexual orientation? All these things that we as humans need to box each other in so we can understand each other, and we don't need any of that. We just need to look into each other and we can find each other being the same, right? That was Yo-Yo and Mac. It was like all those things don't matter. They always saw each other without those curtains, without those blankets, without the blankets that cover the light. They just saw the light of each other.
I
And I
ship
love that.
back Elena.
Me too. It's a beautiful one.
It really was beautiful. I love how everything ended for all the characters as well.
Yeah.
The show started seemingly straightforward about agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. working in a world where superheroes exist, and each season pretty much evolves with time travel, robots, and outer space. What has surprised you the most about how things ended up from where they began?
I think what's surprising is just the imagination of our EPs and our writers everywhere they took us. I mean, I've whenever I've been a part of writing a film or a script, you know, you sort of have all these limits and boundaries where you can go, and that would be too melodramatic, or that would be too unrealistic, or whatever. And in our world, they just flew. You know, our EPs and our writers just constantly would reinvent these worlds and reimagine or imagine new places to go that were always so surprising, because there were moments where I literally was like, where do you go from here? We have nowhere to go from here. It's we've already gone to the end of the universe. Where else do we go?
Yeah.
And they were like, we're going into the past now. And I was like, oh, well, there you go. That's a place we could go. So their freedom of imagination was always really wonderful to be surprised by.
And I noticed that the show stopped connecting to the cinematic universe a couple seasons ago. Was that kind of a surprise that you were not expecting?
Because I wasn't part of the pilot or the world of,
Oh,
you know, I never met Joss. I never met the people really that started it all and then sort of walked away. By the time I started, it wasn't that connected anymore. So I never knew if it was supposed to be, and then someone made a choice that it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Others from the cast had more of a background story to all that, but I always sort of like,
Yeah.
I
I
live in the
know
world
Doug
of
recently
today.
said something about that he's kind of glad that he kind of stopped connecting because of all that meant trying to connect with the movies and writing scripts in the middle of all that. And I kind of agree with what Cloak said because that while I loved all the connections from the movies earlier on, I just loved what upcoming seasons pretty much told its own story and that
Yeah.
like its own world. So that's what I
And
loved
it,
about that.
and I think, even though I don't know much from what you were saying, I think if we would have stayed connected, we would have always been the underdog following their lead. And when that, I think the moment they decided to not have them connected, it gave Agents of Shield much more freedom, probably. So
And I didn't really notice that until I saw the connection between Infinity War and season 6, I believe, because I was expecting a lot of the universe to pretty much disappear.
hmm
But then I noticed that the show stopped connecting to the MCU.
yeah,
So I'm kind of glad that no one else disappeared or died on you.
right. Yeah, us too.
So season 7 has so many twists and surprises from going back into the past and changing some things in time. What time period did you enjoy working on the most?
Hmm. I loved all of them. I didn't really get to do like the sick. I really only got to play like wardrobe and going out, because the rest I was more in like our what's it called, our, am I getting Natalia, um the lighthouse. I was more in our base, and so I didn't go out into the world in the 60s and 70s that much. But I loved the 50s and the diner with Mac, and interrogating the sort of Nazi mean guy, yeah. So I didn't identify to any of them much, but it's always fun to sort of play in another world.
And I would love to do that. I especially love seeing Ember come back to
Yeah.
Lisa from Agent Carter, and that was the best surprise of season 7.
Oh, I'm
Other
glad you
than the
enjoyed
final
it.
episode where we see Fitzsimmons' daughter, and I'm like, whoa, where's she come from?
Yeah, you guys got your dream. You got a product of Fitzsimmons,
I'm really happy we got to see a child of a shield agent.
right? I love that too.
A long time for Fitzsimmons to get together, and now that they are, and then we got to see them in outer space for a little bit before Simmons erased her memories of his
Yeah,
whereabouts. And that final episode explaining everything, I did not see that coming.
right?
Because
Oh, I'm
the
glad
whole
you guys
season, I was
enjoyed it.
pretty much waiting and waiting for Fizz. And
Yeah.
like the last 2 episodes pretty much surprised me there.
Oh, I love it. I'm glad you enjoyed it, love.
Me too. I have a question from my friend Alicia Fleming. Um, Given how close May and Yo-Yo became as friends, especially in episode 8 of season 7, do you think that May and Yo-Yo talk on a regular basis post season 7 since everyone is doing separate things?
Oh, definitely. I think they go out and have really hard alcohol together at the end of the week, and she tells her about the students May can't deal with anymore, and Yo-Yo tells her about um all the missions that May isn't on anymore, and how much she misses her and the cavalry and whatnot. I think they talk all the time.
And I think the other thing that surprises me the most about the end of the season was everyone meeting in a holographic projection, so they're not really there. And that kind of actually broke my heart because I thought they were all really there, but they're off doing their own missions, which is
Yeah,
interesting to say the least.
it's the writers prophesizing COVID.
Oh,
I mean, they didn't, but basically that's what we ended up, all of us meeting virtually.
That would be very interesting. But I did really want to know where Sousa ends up now that he's living in the present.
Right? Well, maybe
So
that's
many
the next.
questions that I wanted
That's
answered.
maybe that's the next show where Daisy and Sousa end up.
We shall see.
We shall see.
What was your favorite thing that happened in the final season?
Oh, I loved how close Yo-Yo and May got. I just absolutely loved it. These very tough women. They were girly and feminine, but there's nothing sort of superficially um girly about them. Like it was never about, ooh, I want to look cute and I'm gonna go dressed as the 40s and I want all my look to be perfect. Like none of that was there. They were always like, put me in. I need to, like, the mission, the goal, right? There were these women that the insecurities that lie on women so easily of looks and 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 again, ego, being so focused on what the exterior world is going to think, that you're always focused on what you're going to give the exterior world. For them it was the opposite, and it's very much I think who Ming and I are. It's, of course we care that we look, the way we want to look or whatever, but that's never the core of it. It's so much more profound, and I love that about that female friendship in the show. It wasn't a superficial girly girl sort of world. It was very rooted
Yeah.
in in something much more deep than that. And I love that.
Especially when you're time traveling, things were very different back then, so you gotta try
Hmm.
to fit in the time
Yeah,
period.
exactly.
So, what was your last day on the set feel like?
Oh, it was so weird. Those last days are always so bizarre because there's such a push and pull of emotions and feelings. And my last day was the day that I shot Yo-Yo's last scene of her running out of the car. And it was one of the first scenes we shot during the day. So I got done by, like, I don't know, 9 a.m. I was done, and we started probably around 5, 6 a.m. I was done around 9 or 10. And then I spent the whole day just on set watching everyone else finish their own scenes. And then we had beers and an after party, and it was all very emotional. But at the same time, as I was saying, there's this push and pull. You're happy you're done, you're exhausted. There's this excitement and acceleration, and at the same time there's these emotions coming in of, I'm not going to see these people every day anymore, and I'm not going to play this character anymore. So there's just a bunch of stuff. You can't really pinpoint it all into one thing or one way of feeling. It's a bit all over the place.
You're
but
kind of
but
one
but
big
but
family after all this time.
of course, no, of course, I think that's the main thing. The part of, I'm not gonna play yo-yo and all that kind of comes afterwards, but in that moment, it's more about feeling like this was your everyday for so many years, and now it's not going to be.
Yeah. And if you could have any superpower in the world, what would you have?
I used to say it was knowledge, um, because I just wanted to know. I wanted to know everything, like the story of the world. I really wanted to know who did this and who did that. I was always very interested in storytelling, and I think that's the part of the actor in me that wants to just be full of stories. But now I would love to have the power to help people unmask themselves, take away all the blankets, all the filters that stop them from truly seeing their light and their beauty as souls and as people. All these systems of belief and systems of thought, and exterior definitions and negative thoughts that we've decided to believe about ourselves and about the world, to be able to have the power to just in one switch dismantle them, so people can look at themselves and see their true selves, not with all these masks that we allow the world to put on us and that we allow ourselves to put on ourselves, but to just get rid of them so we can all just be connected to our true source, which is really love, light, and belonging. And if we're all in that place, we can constantly treat others from that place. So
I used to think I want knowledge as well because I did terrible in school. I wanted to be the
I
smartest
did too.
class, and
Yeah.
I was never really in the mainstream classes. I was always in special ed, so I was always kind of behind.
Yeah.
But I wanted just to be able to be with everyone else and be as smart as I could be. But now, looking back, I have my own knowledge of being smart.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I was going to tell you about. That's why I don't say knowledge anymore, because people misinterpret it and think that I want to just be book smart. And book smart has a lot to do with the dismantling of system of beliefs that I just told you. Because all those stories that were told are told by, I mean, we thought Christopher Columbus was a hero. Nope. They're told by the winners of history. So what is knowledge truly? And what you just said, that is knowledge. It's not all this built um, knowledge of things. It's wisdom. What you just said is wisdom is truly finding your own the knowledge of yourself that makes you happy. That's your wisdom, your instinct, your
My knowledge of pop culture is pretty much my number one thing I know, like from superhero movies, TV, books.
Mhm.
The only thing I really figured out that I was really smart enough to know, because that's something I really love to have.
Yeah. And that's also your wisdom. It has to be connected to your source of passion, because if not, I never was good at math because I had no passion for it. So I do wish I could like flick a finger and understand everything like mathematicians understand, but
Yeah.
that would be
I
a
never
great
had any
superpower.
regular math classes, so I never got to do algebra or any of that. So to me, I was kind of happy about that. But part of me still wanted to be
Yeah.
able to be involved with that.
Yeah, well, girl, I took the classes and I probably know as little as you do. So I was there and I flunked it all. So
The only
don't
thing I
stress.
probably know is adding, subtracting, division, and multiplying.
Yeah, the main things that we need to know.
Yeah, definitely. My last question: if you could work with another Marvel star in any of the future projects, Who would it be, and why?
I've always said Mark Ruffalo. He's one of my favorite actors, just in general. So, and he's in the Marvel universe. But the Marvel universe has such great artists that, oh, I don't know. There's so, I mean, Tilda Swinton is in it. Mads Mikkelsen is in it. Like what? Oh, there's so many. I mean,
I know
any of them. Scarlett
everyone
Johansson is
involved is
such a,
my heroes
yeah,
and inspirations and people I want to work with someday.
yeah. Yeah, I would hope, because I don't really know any of them. I can't really say in terms of humans. So I go more for their craft, their artistry. But I would just hope that whoever I choose is also a nice person, so you can actually have fun with them. So yeah,
And I hope they're a nice person I can work with someday too.
yeah, you will.
Well,
You're
I
so
really
nice.
appreciate your time today. It was so lovely to be able to talk to you.
Likewise, love. Always here. Thank you for doing this.
No problem. I will let you know when this video is uploaded. I'll email you the link and we'll go from there.
Okay, perfect.
All right, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Belle. You too. Thank you, Mama. Nice to
Bye.
meet you, see you, and talk to
Nice to
you.
meet you too.
Bye, love.